Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. This review contains spoilers, by the way. So I went to see The Hobbit in IMAX 3D and 48 frames per second. And all the bells and whistles were there. So nothing should have hindered my experience in it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the opening. So it tries to provide some exposition in the opening. It has a scene with Thorin and Gandalf, which is very awesome and helps to open the movie up. Since this is a book that is transformed into a trilogy of movies, I mean, is gonna have a lot added to it. Now, normally movies have a problem with being too short. Now, this has a problem with being too long. That's the main thing I've noticed with the Hobbit movies thus far. Now, I actually expected the old Bilbo to be there, you know, like he was in the first one. I expected that to happen for the first, second, and third. He would be talking to Frodo, and it would have their kind of mischief that would bring us back. But I'm thinking Peter Jackson wants it to be like one complete thing, so I expect old Bilbo's gonna be at the beginning, and then at the end. Now, this movie, you're kind of thrown into it. I mean, don't go to see it if you haven't seen the first Hobbit. That would be very bad. This is, you know, one story, one book it was made out of, so it's not like it's three different stories together, though they do try to give each one its own thing. It is one story. And the Deathly Hallows is what started this. Yeah, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, everyone knows, split into two parts. That was a big thing. Now everyone's doing it. Twilight did it. And now, this I kind of look at as Peter Jackson wanting to create symmetry to his Lord of the Rings trilogy. You got the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then you got the Hobbit trilogy. Even though the Hobbit was one book, which was much shorter than any of the three Lord of the Rings books. Now, the pacing in this movie is very slow. I've noticed that. There's a lot of action, but the pacing is very slow. There's a lot of dialogue, and there's a lot of action, but I think it's equaled out really well. The action scenes were very well done, I think. It did use the, what I call the cut cam, a little bit, where you just cut, and you barely see what's going on, which is really bad in 3D, because your eyes take longer to focus on an image when you've got depth to it. However, it does have 48 frames per second, so you can see more of the motion. Now, I like character-based stories very well. I hate action movies that have, you know, no characters whatsoever. They're just blank, and it's just basically a popcorn flick. But I don't think this was like that. I think this was done very well. It's very character-based. Comes from a very good book, very good series. You know, the world of Middle-earth is very fascinating. Speaking of which, they bring back some characters from Lord of the Rings. They bring back Legolas, which is pretty obviously fan service, but he is pretty awesome.
Do not think I won't kill you, dwarf.
There's also a new character, brand new. Her name is Tauriel, and she's played by Evangeline Lilly.
When did we allow evil to become stronger than us?
The orcs. The boss orc, specifically, the leader of the orcs. Didn't he die in the first movie? Sauron. What a great backstory for Sauron. That is awesome. Not really a backstory, but some backing of his character in this trilogy. Really awesome, and all the Gandalf scenes are epic. The scene with Gandalf and Sauron was just pure epicness. Now, the first part of this trilogy was building up to the appearance of Gollum. Awesome character. Everyone knows Gollum from Lord of the Rings. He is freaking awesome, and he's awesome in the first part of The Hobbit. Now, this one didn't have that, so they basically used Smaug. I noticed in the trailers they were using Smaug. This was the build up to Smaug now, and it is worth it. Smaug is epic. He's got an epic voice.
Come now, don't be shy. Step into the light.
Though, this is called the Desolation of Smaug, right? Why isn't Smaug desolated? So Smaug is epic, but they really drag on this movie. I have to make note of that. The first movie, I could see the slow pacing because it was exposition. And that worked really well for the first part, I thought. Some people didn't like it, but I thought it was really nice setup. But in this one, I expected it to be more fast-paced. We're going along here. It should be a lot more fast-paced, but trying to split it into 3 movies, maybe if it were 2, it would work. But Peter wants it to be a trilogy. He wants it to be symmetrical to Lord of the Rings. So we have to really drag this thing out. And the Smaug scenes were awesome, but after a while, I mean, this makes up the last third of the movie. You know, it gets a little tiring. The ring scenes were awesome. I love the invisible cam. That was awesome, especially in the scene with Smaug. That was just great. Very suspenseful. Though, here's a complaint. They kind of cut out the suspense by switching to Keeley. Had to look up his name because nobody really knows who he is. He's kind of portrayed as the goofball. But you know, I like the lighthearted nature of The Hobbit. I like that it's, you know, a little more comedic than Lord of the Rings, not so dark. I think it's good that it has its own distinct style. But back to what I was saying about Smaug and the hugely long action sequence that goes on with him. There's a lot of suspense there, especially at the first. And it kind of gets sidetracked to this other plot about Keeley. You know, the goofball. He gets sick. Oh no. And Tarell has to come and heal him. That kind of killed the suspense and epicness of Smaug. I don't care about Keeley. Okay, Keeley can go off and die. I'm sorry, but he's not that good of a character. And the scene with Legolas and the boss orc, that was kind of pointless. I mean, we know Legolas is not going to die. We know the boss orc is not going to die like this. So what's the point? It's not interesting when you know nothing's really going to happen in this fight. All the actors, I think, do a really good job. Martin Freeman was a great choice for Bilbo, and Thorin is awesome. Gandalf, as always, is awesome. The voice acting for Smaug and Sauron is amazingly epic. Now, the first movie had kind of a resolution to it. It kind of tried to bring you down and leave you with fulfillment at the end of it. I hate stories that just end at the climax. You know, it's exciting to do that, but then, you know, you're not fulfilled as an audience. You've got to bring things down from the climax. And the first one attempted that. The second one, no, it ends right at the climax. So expect a big cliffhanger, okay? So overall, I thought the movie was pretty good. It's very slow paced, but it equals out the dialogue and the action scenes, both of which are very well done. And it's got good characters, good acting, pretty epic scenes. Even some of the added scenes are pretty epic. And I enjoyed it quite a lot. And I'm excited for the third one, though it is going to be extremely slow paced. How are they going to bring that, you know, one action scene into 3 hours? I don't know, but we'll see. I'm Wesley Wilson, and what'd you think of the movie? Did you like it? Maybe not? Kind of okay? Leave a comment down below.